So I don't straighten this stuff out anymore. Anyway, it said some that heard this magnificent presentation didn't know what was going on. And they're usually easy to spot. They're usually saying, what's going on, right? I mean, they don't know what's going on. But interesting, right? A variety of reaction to the same sincere, honest presentation. Now, it also says, in wrapping it up, some that heard presentation believe. And I think that's who the speaker was looking for, the believer. Now, it said the number of believers was about 3,000. So pretty good first day, 3,000. I've had some first days, but I never had 3,000. But anyway, 3,000 were believers. And that's, the speaker was looking for the believers out of this multitude. And that's about as close as we can come to understanding the mystery. Some believe and some mock, some laugh, some are perplexed, some don't know what's going on. And you just have to leave it that way. Why? Because that's the way it's going to be. The way to be brilliant is to find out how it's going to be and then say, here's how it should be. And that's how you become brilliant. So, anyway, who knows the mystery? I call it mysteries of the mind. We don't understand. But I don't try to change it anymore. On this particular story, as far as we know, they didn't have classes after the presentation to try to de-perplex the perplexed. I mean, as far as we know, they left them perplexed. They left the mockers mocking. They let the laughers laugh. I mean, they didn't come back and try to straighten all this out. You say, well, how can you build a church? Well, make another presentation, and you'll get some believers and some mockers, and some who don't know what's on. So that's about the best. So, but I'm glad I've got the believers here today. You believed enough. Shell out your cash and part with your time and some of your effort and energy, and I appreciate it. So, hopefully you'll find some inspiration here today, all right? To get the most out of today, a couple more notes. Number one, be thankful. That's a good way to capture the most of a day like this. Be thankful for what you already have. That shouldn't be any problem in America, being thankful. Everything we need is available in America. Everybody wants to come here, right? Last time I was here, that little presentation I gave, everybody wants to come here, America. People haven't plotted and schemed the last 40 years saying if I could just skip Poland, everything would be okay. No, everybody wants to come to America. Why? Everything's available here. All the books you need, all the sermons you need, all the churches you need, all the schools you need, all the instruction you need, all the inspiration you need, all the capital you need, all the markets you need, all the challenge you need, all the information you need, all the seminars you need. Everything's available here. This is America. So number one, let's be thankful for what we already have. Thanksgiving does this. Opens up the doors, opens up the windows, opens up the channels. Thanksgiving for what you already have.
See, when I was in the 5th grade, I was identified as EMR, labeled educable, mentally retarded. Put back from the 5th grade to the 4th grade. I failed again when I was in the 8th grade. I have no college training. And a man changed my life, and I'll never forget his name, Mr. Leroy Washington. He's in his 80s now, and he's blind from glaucoma, but he gave me a different vision of myself. I was in his class waiting on another student. He came in and said, young man, go to the board and work this problem out for me. I said, oh, sir, I can't do that. He said, why not? I said, I'm not one of your students. He said, look at me. Yes, sir. Go to the board and work the problem out anyhow. I said, sir, I can't do that. He said, why? I said, sir, because I'm educable, mentally retarded, sir. I'm in special education. And the students started laughing. They said, that's Leslie. That's not Wesley. He's DT. Wesley is the smart twin. He said, what does DT stand for? I said, I'm the dumb twin, sir. And as the students laughed at me, he came from behind his desk. He looked at me and he said, don't you ever say that again. Someone's opinion of you does not have to become your reality. On one hand, I was humiliated, but on the other hand, I was liberated, because he looked at me with the eyes of Goethe, who said, look at a man the way that he is, he only becomes worse. But look at him as if he were what he could be, then he becomes what he should be. And so we developed a relationship. And one of the things that I can just tell you as you think about your goals and dreams, all of us can say in a spirit of integrity that it's possible, that if anybody at any point in time lived their dream, then it's possible that I can live mine. And what I did was, I made a mistake. I looked at my goals and dreams, and my mind said, how will you do that? I went from my heart to my mind, and I stayed up there for 14 years. 14 years. I can't bring those 14 years back. Those years are gone. And I've made a mission in my life to help people to stop putting it off and procrastinating. How many ever thought about something you wanted to do and you procrastinated? You talked yourself out of it. Raise your hand, please. There's a proverb that says, if there's no enemy within, the enemy outside can do us no harm. And so as you look at your goals and dreams, every day we must convince ourselves, we must sell ourselves on that it's possible. Every seminar, every workshop, every book that I've ever read, every speech speaker that I've ever heard. It interrupted what I was believing about myself. Everything that you do, everything matters. As you go through each day, I know now as I look back at age 63, looking at my life, everything matters. T. Harv is right. How you do anything is how you do everything. And I realized that the choices I was making was based upon how I saw myself. Let us say together, it's necessary.
So I wanted to be rich. I started in a financial company. I'm like, hey, I can't be driving around like, I had a Honda CRX. And everywhere I go to appointments, by the way, someone broke into my car. It's a true story. Someone broke into my Honda CRX, and instead of, this radio had already been stolen. I was parked at LA University. It's no joke, I had an appointment there. I came out, they stole the passenger seat. Who the hell steals a passenger seat? Like, are you looking around? I gotta get a passenger seat of a Honda CRX, right? Dude steals my passenger seat. I assume it was a dude. So I'm like, I gotta get a car. I'm driving around, The Rock is my passenger seat, trying to be this big baller financial dude. Any of you relate to that? Like, you, maybe even COVID did it to you. Like, hey, I was doing pretty good, but right now I'm pretending as hell, right? And oftentimes, all our careers, we can feel like an imposter. I remember even as I started to do, I'm like, this is a fluke. They're gonna figure out I fluked this. Somehow I'm gonna come back to where I belong. I thought that for years. I was worried for years I was gonna lose what I had gained because they're gonna figure out what a dumbass I am. Because I've been told that when I was a kid over and over again. So I thought, man, I need to drive a Mercedes for people to take me damn serious. The problem is I had this like champagne dream on like a Schlitz beer budget. So I'm reading in the Penny Saver and it says kit car Mercedes. Here's the one of the articles right here. Up for sale or trade. I have a one-of-a-kind 1997 Mercedes-Benz 600 convertible kit car that's built on an 88 Chrysler LeBaron frame. You think I'm playing with you? I read this article in the Penny Saver. I'm like, hey, what is a kit car? I started Googling it. Turns out you can get a Chrysler LeBaron, strip that sucker of the frame, and you can weld onto it a Mercedes body. Everybody will think you have a Mercedes. I'm not playing with you. I did this. $4,000 instead of $44,000. I'm like, that's a damn deal, right? And so, no, it gets better. The deal though is if you really know cars, it's 2 feet longer. So when you're driving it, car people are pointing at you like, what the hell is that thing? And it rattles. So I find this one for $4,000. I drive down to Dana Point and I meet this young lady. I'm pretty sure there may be some methamphetamine involved in her existence at the time. And I'm like, tell me about your kit car. And she comes out, she kind of waddles out. She goes, well, this one's not exactly like the other ones. I'm like, so they weld these things together? She goes, yeah, typically, but this one is Velcroed. It's Velcroed. I'm like, explain that to me. She said, we couldn't afford the welding, so my ex-boyfriend Velcroed the kit to the car. I'm not playing with you. It's a true story. So she goes, I'm just warning you, if you buy this thing, the heater blows full time, because it's a LeBaron, and if you pull up to a stoplight too fast and hit the brakes, this front headlight will fly out into that intersection, because the Velcro's loose. I'm like, I got it, no problem. I give her the $4,000, and I start driving around this kit car. Now, thank God, you think I'm social media star now? I'd have been viral as hell back in 1997, because what I would do more than 100 times, Mr. Jets and all that stuff here, more than 100 times, there you go, full fiberglass body. By the way, do you have any idea which one's the real one? Can you tell from the picture? Which one? The left? Which is the left? The blue or the gray? Which real? Which one? Gray's the real one? Right on. No. Nope. The gray one is the fake one. That's my old ride. See that left front light right there? Notice the little gap right there? Isn't that awesome? That left front light, more than 100 times I have pulled up to an intersection. Thank God there was no social media. There weren't cameras on phones back in the day. I pulled up in my cheap suit and that front headlight went whoop out into an intersection. I would get out of my car, stop freaking traffic. You imagine you sitting at a headlight watching some asshole pull out his, I'm picking up my headlight. I would walk back to my own car, stick it back on, and then jump back in the car again. And just look straight ahead. Except about 20 of those times, I was so wound up and doing it fast, I slammed the door, fell right back off the car. Velcro got me. I lived in that car for 2 years. I actually got arrested in it. Got arrested in it because I got pulled over. I had my whole sales team at a retreat like this. They all thought it was a Mercedes. I had lied to them. I said, this is the first ever hybrid. Because at that time, Mercedes and Chrysler had merged. No joke. Go look it up. And I'm like, hey, this is the first ever hybrid car. These are going to be all over the place. That's why the inside looks like a LeBaron. The outside's a Benz. Lied my ass off. Facts tell, stories sell. So we're in a retreat like this. I got 20 of my top dudes with me. And I've got a guy with me. My best friend is a guy named Dan Charlier. Dan Charlier is an African-American man. Okay? He's my best friend. I was best man at 3 of his weddings. So trust me, I'm best friends with him. Okay? And Charlier, we're going to a place called Lodi, California. Charlier says to me, hey man, there's no brothers in Lodi. And I'm like, what are you talking about? He goes, dude, we're going to get pulled over in Lodi. I'm like, get out of here. This whole race white thing, you're crazy. He goes, brother, there's no brothers in Lodi. Sure enough, we leave this retreat. We're driving. I get lost. We get pulled over. He goes, I told you. Next thing I know, my whole sales team is 20 cars back about 100 yards watching this take place. Cop comes up to the car. He says, stick your hands out of the car. I said, sir, what is this all about? He said, I'll get my hands out, opens the door, cuffs me, puts me in the back of the police car. I'm back there for about 30 minutes. Charlie Ace to my right is like, I told you, dude, we are driving while black. And I'm like, Dan, I don't know if that's necessarily the case. He's like, brother, trust me. Finally, after about 30 minutes, the guy comes up, the cop, I said, sir, what am I being arrested for? Now other cop cars have come up, they're shining lights in my car. I know my whole sales team's back there like, Mylett's always wound up. He's probably got some coke or something in the car, right? Which, by the way, I've never done any drugs in my life, right? Well, testosterone, but that's a whole other conversation. So anyway, so he pulls up to the car. I said, sir, what is this all about? He says, it's a stolen vehicle and you know it. Sure enough, he comes back to the car. He said, sir, why do you believe the car's stolen? He goes, they're fake plates. I said, no, sir, this is gonna sound crazy. That's actually a Chrysler LeBaron you're looking at. He's like, nah, is this turning into a DUI, boy? I'm like, no, sir, it's a Chrysler LeBaron. If you go pull on my front door, it'll come right off. It's Velcroed on there. Imagine the look on his face. What the hell did you say? I said, the front door is Velcroed onto the car, sir. Go pull on it. Sure enough, him and the other cop walk up, pull on my front door. They are falling out laughing. Spins my door and throws it into the bushes. I get out of the car and he tells me to take off. That's the story of me wanting to be somebody. So I don't know where you're at right now, but are you slightly ahead of a Velcroed together Mercedes? Yes or no? Yes? Okay, that's me. You're welcome. Don't ever tell anybody that story again, okay?
Of course it's your fault. It's your report too. It's your responsibility to see that everyone you delegated work to does their part. Now, you can't control what others around you do, but it's in your own best self-interest that you stay on top of things, especially if it's going to affect your future. You think your boss cares that John didn't do his part? You think he sees John as the bad guy? Of course not. All he sees is that the report isn't done. Bottom line, be responsible for the things that affect you. You can make sure you're more responsible by checking in with those people who are working with you, the people who make up your team. You can be more responsible by saying, "Hey, John, how are you doing with your part? Do you need some help? Can we put somebody else in here to help you finish?" Now, if John consistently doesn't handle his part, you've got to replace John. If he isn't doing his share, you've got to find somebody that will. Or what? It will negatively affect you. You can't wake up in the morning that the project is due hoping and wishing that John has done his part. No, you've got to be responsible because it's going to affect your career too. Now, my approach to my better future very early on in my career was to just go through the day with my fingers crossed. And I used to say something like, "I sure hope things will change for the better." Then here's what I found out. They're not going to change. Somebody says, "Well then, how will my life ever change?" Answer, when you change. When you change, when you get better, it'll get better. If you change, it'll all change. Don't put it on someone else. Hope that someone else will change it for you. Take responsibility for yourself. Take personal responsibility. You can't change the circumstances or the seasons or the wind, but you can change your reading habits. You can change whether or not you go for the skills, burn the midnight oil, turn yourself around, multiply your value by 2, 3, 5, 10. That you've got charge of. That you have control of. You don't have control of the constellations, but you've got control over whether or not you go to night school, take adult classes, learn some new skills. You have control over that. And if you don't, that's your fault. You've got to take personal responsibility. You've got to be self-reliant. Nobody else can change your life, alter your ambitions, pave a golden road for you. But you can. It's up to you. Be responsible for yourself. Learn to reap the harvest without complaint. This is a sign of growing maturity. And here's where it comes from, taking full responsibility. Take full responsibility for everything you do. Be responsible to yourself. It's your crop. Whatever your paycheck is, take full responsibility. You say, "Well, it's my employer." No, it's not your employer. You can become twice as valuable, 3 times as valuable. Burn the midnight oil, learn some more skills, bring more value to the marketplace. I'm telling you, whatever your harvest is, take it without complaint. Whenever you prepare correctly, taking all of the steps you're supposed to take, doing everything in your power to stay on track, whenever your preparations lead to success, achieving your goals, you reinforce the disciplines that got you there. Success leads to reinforcement of the proper disciplines. If what you're doing is working, keep doing it. If what you're doing isn't working, change it. How can you isolate what's working for you and what isn't? How can you make sure that you are reinforcing your positive disciplines? Well, if it isn't apparent, easy to see right away, if what you're doing is happening in such small increments that you're not sure if you're on track, then you need to be writing it down. You need to keep a journal anyway. But if you really aren't sure that what you're doing is making measurable progress, you need to keep a written record. You need to write down everything that may be relevant in your day. What you did, who you saw, what you felt, how it may or may not affect you now and in the future.
The constant commitment to putting something in the world of value, as long as you can stay focused on delivering your art and delivering yourself and delivering your energy and delivering your ideas for the world to be better.
The secret to success is doing a lot of little things consistently over a long period of time. The moment of every single day has a massive impact on where you ultimately end up.
The way to improve lives is to continually improve yourself. Good people have to get out of the bed every day and try to empty the ocean with a soup spoon, as the mentality of how you wake up every day to try to do good in the world.
You really got to focus with all of your fiber and all of your heart and all of your creativity.
Dreams without goals are just dreams, and they ultimately fuel disappointment. Goals on the road to achievement cannot be achieved without discipline and consistency.
What if I told you this was the last Monday morning of your life? What if I told you you died this week? Would you complain about your crap job or that test you don't want to take? I doubt it. You would go much higher level thinking. Well, that's really what it takes. It takes understanding that if you're not pumped right now, if you're begrudging what you're about to do, if you're not looking forward to it, look, I respect practicality. You gotta go through school because your parents want to. You gotta pay your rent. You got student loans. I get it. But please recognize the world we're living in.
When you feel like your professor or your teacher has lost their mind. When you feel like your energy is all gone and it's impossible to finish every assignment on time. When you feel like you're mentally broken and your motivation to achieve is hard to find. When you feel like the clouds in your life are so dark it would be impossible to ever see the sun shine again. When you feel. Those are three of the most powerful words that could ever be put together. When you feel. Because the feel means you're still with us. Because the feel means you're still breathing. Because the feel means you still have an opportunity to be achieving. Because the feel means that you still have the power to stop the pain. Stop the bleeding. Stop the hurting. Stop the grieving. I said, when you feel. Because the feel means you're still with us. Because the feel means you're still breathing. Because the feel means you still have an opportunity to be achieving. Because the feel means that you still have the power to stop the pain. Still have the power to stop the bleeding. Still have the power to stop the hurting. Still have the power to stop the grieving. So whenever you feel like your professor or teacher has lost their mind, because they're overwhelming you with a workload that seemingly will take up all of your time, I need you to pause and recall the reason why you made the choice to invest your time. And never lose sight of the fact that you were destined to shine. Never lose sight of the fact that you were made for this grind. Never lose sight of the fact that no hole is too deep for you to climb up out of. And above all else, your why will never ever allow you to withdraw. Your why will never ever allow you to pull the plug. Your why will never ever allow you to throw in the towel. See, it's your why that will push you to dig deeper and to go that extra mile. See, not only do you owe yourself, but you told your mama you were finished. You told your daddy you were finished. You told your brother you were finished. You told your sister you were finished. So therefore, it's up to you to never diminish the value of your word. And a wise man once gave me a wise word, and now I'm passing these wise words on to you. You are in total control of your situation. So when you feel like you're facing a breaking point, this is the point when you go to your professor. This is the point when you go to your academic advisor. And not the time to despise her and not the time to despise him. Simply say, I am in this until I walk across the stage with my diploma. I am in this until I smell the sweet aroma of success. And right now, I'm feeling overwhelmed because I am on academic overload. Do you have any suggestions that will help me power through this semester? Because my only option is to figure this out. And whatever it takes, I can, I will, and I must do. See, I understand that drastic times call for drastic measures. And the measure of a person's will is determined by what they are willing to do to ensure triumph over tragedy. The measure of a person's will is determined by what they are willing to do to ensure success over failure. The measure of a person's will is determined by what they are willing to do to ensure winning over losing. And see, right now, I'm choosing to fight for my academic future, and that's why I came to your office. I promise. When they see that your passion is pushing you with a purpose, they will give you every ounce of their being to assure you are successful because they know you're worth it. I just need you to never forget that you're worth it. Success is your baby. You just gotta birth it and then kick back and enjoy the fruits of your labor. But in the meantime, I need you to pull up your sleeves. I need you to tighten up your boxing gloves because you're right in the middle of a heavyweight boxing match. And life is trying to take your title, and your survival in this academic arena is at stake.
I started working when I was 19. I met my teacher who helped turn my life around when I was 25. That's 6 years. At the end of the first 6 years of my economic life, I've got pennies in my pocket. I've got nothing in the bank. The creditors are calling saying, hey, you told us the check was in the mail. I'm embarrassed. I'm behind on my promise. I live in America. I'm 25-year-old American male. I got a nice family, every reason to do well. And I'm messed up. Now, what's messed up? I used to think it was the community that was messed up. Country was messed up. And the government was messed up. If those Democrats ever get in the White House, that'll really mess things up. If the Republicans stay in power, that'll really mess things up. The economy was messed up. Interest rates are messed up. I thought all this stuff was messed up. Then I found out that's not what was messed up. I was criticizing the only thing I had to work with. What was really messed up was my own personal philosophy. My own errors in judgment in my own personal philosophy brought me in 6 years to pennies in my pocket, nothing in the bank, and trying to explain why I wasn't doing well living in America, 25-year-old American male, got a family, every reason to do well. Now, once I understood this, here's the formula for failure: errors in judgment, being lax about developing your own personal philosophy. I'm telling you, it's called accumulated disaster. Doesn't matter whether it's your health or your bank account. Guy's got an empty bank account, probably has high cholesterol. Why? Over the last 6 years, he never paid attention to either one. And it doesn't matter whether it's a dollar, whether it's your money, or whether it's your cholesterol count. All you got to do is commit the errors, and just because disaster doesn't fall on you at the end of the first day that you don't eat an apple. You say, well, I didn't eat an apple today, and tonight I'm not ill. Well, you got to be brighter than that. Someday you got to leave first grade. The reason we make those first grade desks so small so they won't fit at age 25, right? You don't belong here anymore. Come on. Now let me give you the secret to success. Formula for failure: a few errors in judgment repeated every day for 1 month starts the week, starts the disaster process. You can imagine what happens. Now here's the formula for success: a few simple, disciplined practice every day. You've started a whole new process called a whole new life. Simple, disciplined practice every day. And if you decide today to go for the apple instead of the Hershey bar, I'm telling you, you have begun the process of turning your life. And if you keep up that process, not only with your health habits, but with your money habits, and with your communication habits, with your sales habits, management habits, and every other habit that you got, if you'll start that process, eliminate the errors and replace it with disciplined practice, I'm telling you, you can start this process of life change immediately. After today, you don't ever have to be the same again. Only by choice. You don't have to walk out of here the same as you walked in. Only by choice. You can start a whole new process. You say, well, Mr. Rohn, is it that simple? Yes, it's that simple. Where else would you start? But with an apple. You don't have to start with something staggering. What if you should be walking around the block for your good health and you don't? What'll that do in 6 years? I'm telling you, the word is disaster. You could and you should and you don't. Here's an even stronger word. You won't. Don't might mean you're careless. Won't probably means you're stubborn. And either one's called disaster. Could, should, don't. I'm telling you, that's why at the end of 6 years, I found myself with pennies in my pocket, nothing in the bank, creditors calling.
Here's the other thing. Let us say together, it's possible. It's necessary. It's me. Yes, write that down. It's me. Take ownership for your life. Nobody can live your dream for you but you. Nobody's going to take care of your business like you. Stop coming up with excuses. Don't give yourself permission to continue to live a small life. You can't fit a big dream into a small life. Give yourself permission to go for it, to test yourself, to challenge yourself, to live full. Like the saying, always strive to get on top in life because it's the bottom that's overcrowded. The reason you're here is because there's something in you that says, I can do more. This just can't be it. There's something in you. There's a calling on your life. There's something in your heart that caused you to get dressed and spend the money to go to seminar after seminar and listen to message after message and speaker after speaker, because there's something in you that tells you this is not it for you. You have not peaked here. There's more in you that you are expressing. Eye has not seen, ear has not heard, nor has entered the heart of mankind what's in store for you if you challenge yourself, if you persist and persevere, if you take ownership for your life. George Bernard Shaw said the people that make it in this life, they look around for the circumstances that they want, and if they can't find them, they create them. Create what you want. You have the power in you to do the more than you can ever begin to imagine, to control your destiny, to make a difference in our children, to make a difference on the planet, to make an impact. Let us say together, it's me. Let us say together, it's hard. Say it like you know it. Say it's hard. Ladies and gentlemen, it's hard. There are people who have seen their retirements taken away from them by the corporations that they work for. They were within 2 or 3 years of retiring, and they had it taken from them. The number one entrepreneurs in this country now are senior citizens. The number one employer, number two, McDonald's and Walmart. And there's nothing wrong with those jobs. I guarantee you those people did not have a plan to end up living their lives at the end of life with those types of jobs. And they didn't have a plan like you have, and while you're investing in yourself, not to. And it's hard. There are people making choices between purchasing prescription drugs or paying for gas or a mortgage note. It's hard when you're working on a job for 20 years, 30 years. Give them some good years, and then they come in and tell you, we've downsized. In other words, you're fired. And then you have to start all over again. How many of you know it's hard? Raise your hands, please.
You have to resolve yourself today that you're going to win in business, that you're going to dominate, that you're not average and ordinary. There has to become a point where you make a decision. We're going to dominate. We're here to win. We are not here to play. And you're going to have a company that decides it's going to win. And that takes some intestinal fortitude. It takes a decision, and it takes you being evangelical about your cause. So you can get all these emotions you want, but as a man, you still got to win. To be what you're worth, you still got to win, right? And that's what I want you to get out of today. You got to decide you're going to win. If you're going to win in your family, you're going to win in your personal life. I'm where I'm at because I just flat decided I'm going to be a player. I just decided it. I'm not special. I come from a Velcroed Mercedes. I come from a dysfunctional family, but I decided at some point I get to choose who I am. The world doesn't tell me who I am. I'm not that small, introverted athlete with an alcoholic dad with no confidence. I write these chapters. Me and God write chapters. I got the best co-author on the planet. He made me and you in his image and likeness. He made you to do something great with your life. That's no BS. Too many of us forget this. Too many of us forget where we come from. We come from greatness, the DNA of the King of Kings. I don't even care if you're a person of faith. Trust me, you should have some. The only explanation for where I am is there must be an amazing God in heaven who's blessing me on a regular basis, who loves me and you, by the way, in spite of all the stupid sins we make, because you know you've made a bunch of them. And what you think is all this crap you've done wrong, maybe even while you've been here on this trip, disqualifies you from winning. God takes dudes like me and dudes like you and women like you, and we change the freaking world. That's what he does. And he takes a guy like my son who will outwork you. He's a sweetheart. He's a good boy. He's a Christian boy. He's not just trying to flex all the time. He'll just outwork you. He got that scholarship because before school every day at 5:30, our golf course set up the balls because they know Max goes before school. Then he stays till dark after school. That's why he won. And I think he modeled some of that from his old man. You got to look at how much you're working. You got to work at the effort you're making. You got to put the intention you're putting out there. You think it's easy to go make hundreds of millions of dollars? What a joke someone's convincing you of that. It's relentlessness, man. It's crazy. It's pushing past barriers. It's every time you get somewhere, it's wanting to go to the next level. It's also something, write this down, that I teach all my athletes called equanimity. Equanimity is peace under duress. Being able to find peace under duress, meaning this, it's easy to walk around and say, I'm going to be a peaceful dude, right? Or to create duress, but can you find the emotional control to be at your best under the highest stress level?
You've all seen this book I got out in this video called Jump. Oh, I jumped. Now, I don't recommend that you do it that way, because 2 years later I was homeless. Because the first year of comedy I made $3,400. The next year I made $4,800. And the third year I made $5,100. I got a wife, a set of twins. I'm sending every dollar I got to them. So I tried to live on $50, $75 gas, 38 cents a gallon back then. I just stayed in my car. So I lived in my car for 3 years. 3 years I lived in my car. And what happened was, I just said, man, so I used to fish all the time to eat, because I'm a fisherman, bass fisherman. So I used to stop at lakes and ponds, just fish. And every night, every month, I could run off somebody's land. Hey, get away from here. Hey, move along, that's not yours. Hey, stop fishing here. I just get run off. And he didn't understand. And one time I had fish on the line. They said, you got fish on that line? I said, yeah. Throw them back. I had to throw them back, because I used to stop at rest areas with them little cast iron grills. I kept charcoal in my car. I started a fire and I eat fish. There's some days I wouldn't eat. So that they thought I was just fishing, but I was eating. So I said one day, I said, man, you know what? One day, man, I'm gonna give myself some land. I'm gonna buy myself a piece of dirt. So fast forward, God bless me. I get on TV when I'm 38. I'm on Showtime at the Apollo. Lord have mercy. They gave me my money. I saved my money up. I saved $250,000. I said, I'm going to give me some land. I went to Texas and I'm about to buy some land. But before I went to buy the land, I was curious. I just had the thought. I said, man, how much land is on earth? How many acres is on earth? Because you know it's not going to change. You know, God lets you fly. God lets you dive on the water. God don't let you make dirt. can't make dirt. So I looked it up. It's roughly over, just a little bit over, 36 billion acres of land. 36 billion acres of land. So I just got a little bit more curious, and I said, well, how many people on Earth? I looked it up, and there's about 6 billion people on Earth. So I did some Steve Harvey thinking. I said, okay, if it's 36 billion acres of land, and it's about 6 billion people on Earth, everybody ought to have 6 acres of land. Not just me, I just think. So I asked God, could I have 6 acres? That's all I wanted. Because the one thing I wanted? I didn't care if I put a house on it or nothing. I just wanted to be a stand somewhere and couldn't nobody run me off. I just wanted. Man, I was in a world of hurt. I was so sick of just getting run off every time I stopped. Got this money, man. I saved my money. I saved $200,000. I'm going and I'm looking for some land. First day I see a piece of land in Texas, so beautiful. I couldn't have rolling hills, had a pond on it where I could fish. A dude took me over there. I look at the land and I'm looking out. I said, man, this is great right here. I said, sir, how much is this right here? He said, well, it's about $600,000. Man, I ain't got that kind of money. He said, well, how much do you have? I said, I got $250,000. I said, well, let me think about it. He said, let me think about it. And I was standing there, and then I stopped. I said, sir, can I ask you a question? How many acres of land is that? He said, this is 6 acres. 6 years ago, I just asked God, just give me 6. See, I didn't want a whole lot of it. I just wanted my cut. Just give me my 6. And so I said, ain't this crazy? So I thought about it. What could work out? Right before I got ready to say it, the guy that took me over there said, Steve, let me show you. Took me over this hilltop. Took me over this hillbilly house named Jerry Campbell. Now, I don't really care for hillbilly because, we don't, I just, when your voice, I believe and I don't laugh. When I hear that, me and you probably ain't gonna work out. I'm from Cleveland. I do things. I don't want trouble. I met this hill. I was a little nervous about meeting him, man, because I ain't like the way he talked, but mess around, turned out to be one of the finest men I ever met in my life. Became a father figure to me. Old white. He took me to his house. He said, let me show you. He took me over and showed me this land, and it was massive. It had 3 lakes on it. It had rolling hills. It had trees. It was unbelievable, man. I said, man, this is incredible. I said, man, how much is this? He said, this 16 acres. I said, hey, man, I ain't got that kind of money. Let me go on back over here to this dude where Mike can cut a deal. He said, well, let me ask you something. What was you going to give that man over there? I said, well, I hadn't worked it out yet because all I got is $250,000. He said, well, listen, I'm in a little bit of a tight right now. If you can bring me $250,000 cash by tomorrow, I'll give you this 16 acres. I showed up next day, $250,000. 16 acres. See, that's grace and favor right there. That's what that is. So my first piece of land was 250 acres. So I said, man, this is the land that I'm going to save for my family. I'm going to fish on the rest of my life. I'm going to be an old man. So then I got to thinking, I said, hold up, man. You mean you have not because you asked now? I asked for 6 years ago. He showed me 6, but he gave me 16. So I went to God. I said, God, listen to this. I'm from Cleveland. I got a couple partners that's locked up. They probably won't be using they 6. So I said, Lord, could I have they 6? And he said, yeah. So every time acres came up available around that 16, I bought it. And I bought 6 more. And then I went back and I said, well, Lord, all my friends ain't locked up, but some of them just ain't, they just ain't nothing. They don't want nothing. They ain't trying. Could I have they 6? So he gave me they 6. And so then I was doing a show one time on HBO. A friend of mine, he's an atheist. He don't believe in God. He got late night show. And he asked me to do the show, and I thought I was going to be on there telling jokes. But come to find out, he was doing a show on atheism. And I turned him down. I said, I don't want to talk. He said, man, why don't you come and talk? You're a man of faith. I said, well, I don't like arguing with people who don't believe in God. You don't believe in God, I think you a fool. And I'm pretty sure since I believe in God, you think I'm a fool. And I don't think 2 fools ought to be standing around talking. Let's just end that. He said, man, come on and do the show. So we did the show. I hated it. But after the show, I counted all them atheists. And it was 6 of them. So I asked God, could I have they 6? I know good and well, they ain't gonna ask him for nothing. Cool. So he gave me they 6. Next thing you know, I had 270 acres of land. Now let me tell you something. I'm so busy now, I don't even get to go. And I thought I was saving my kids' rest of life. God had no. That's the rant that I have my mentor camp. I bring 1,000 black boys out there with 1,000 single mothers. And that was the purpose of that ranch. I never go there to fish at all. But see, that's what I wanted. I thought that's what it was for. But God got another plan. His way is way bigger than yours. You can't even see his way. But you got to start to hustle